Some moments in life stick with you, not because they were extraordinary, but because of the quiet unease they carried. Like the night I was left alone on my grandfather's farm, the sound of my own whistling breaking the stillness of the fading day. I don't really have an explanation for what happened. I have ideas, but here's the story. I am a freshly graduated high school student on my way to college. During my senior year, I had a job working for my grandfather as a farm manager. He would give me instructions on what to do on the farm without him being there, most commonly feeding the cows. It was early November, and at this time, baseball practice would start in the evening and end when the sun was almost down. When I arrived at work and started getting ready one day, I had gotten dressed, filled up the buckets, and fed the first farm when I realized that I didn't have the key to the other farm. Frustrated, I was forced to pick up two buckets at the same time and walk them from the fence to feed the cows through a good 40-yard walk. While walking, I was trying to keep myself upbeat and started to whistle. No real pattern or tune, just something that I came up with. When I came back and put the last buckets in the bed with the truck, I heard something from my neighboring property. It was a bit strange, I thought, as no one lives anywhere near that property, and it sounded very close. I rationalized it was a mockingbird or something and just kind of went on with my life. The next couple of days, I didn't whistle, but the whistling continued slowly. Over those few days, it got clearer and clearer until it sounded like regular whistling. Eventually, I got louder. When I first heard it, it was very faint. I almost missed it under the crunching sound of me walking. In the last few days, I kind of become accustomed to the whistling and kind of expected it. When one day it didn't come, I was a little disappointed this time. I had brought the key and walked up to the gate and started fiddling with my keys when I dropped them into the grass. I said, "Damn it." When I dropped them, I squatted down and started to search for them when I heard a very faint sound coming from the other property, a low groan, and it was getting louder. At this point, I wasn't scared, but more curious as to what was going on over there. I left my truck parked across from the property and walked a few feet down the road and hopped the fence of the property where I heard the sounds. The land in there goes straight uphill and is heavily wooded all throughout, and the further you go up, the more dense it gets. Looking back now, I made a few big mistakes that could have gotten me hurt. As I walked up the hill, I would occasionally hear the gurgle. It was far up the hill, so still as faint as it was before. As I walked, a bad smell started to hit my nose, a weird mixture of garbage and wet dog or something. I heard something as I was about to reach the hill, a very dry, low, and quite distorted. It came from a couple of yards in front of me. It sounded like a 60-year-old smoker saying damn it very slowly, as if they didn't know English or something. I automatically thought someone was on our property, somewhat angry and paranoid now. I started to move slower. I didn't want this guy to hear me before I could see them. I kept going and stopped and listened when I heard another sound. This guy was slowly saying damn it, normally not long and drawn out, in that eerie way, as if he didn't know English. I sat down on this log, kind of listening, trying to figure out what should do about this. This person. He kept saying it over and over, and I noticed his tone was getting higher, and his inflection was changing, and it hit me. This guy was perfectly mimicking my tone, literally everything. He even mimicked my frustration when I said it angry and kind of scared. Now I got up and started to crest the hill. I flickered on my flashlight on my phone. Hey, this is a private property. I was cut off in mid sentence. As I came over the hill, the light barely illuminated this naked figure squatting like a couple of yards in front of me. His eyes were illuminated by the faint glow of my flashlight. I automatically felt that something was wrong. This wasn't a regular person. His neck was longer than normal, and when I came up the hill, he bent his neck and snapped his head to look at me without moving. His eyes were too big and his head was large and slender. He was squatted in a ballerina type squat. I looked at his body. He was very skinny. His ribs were showing through skin. There was a short silence, and like a robot, the man turned in the leaves and slowly stood with his hands next to his side. I was debating if it even was a real person. It was far too tall to be a person. It said again in my voice. I turned and sprinted down the hill. It didn't feel like I was running, but more than my legs were just going through the motion. I didn't look back before. I got the fence, and when I hopped, I got in my truck and sped away. Sadly, I still work at that farm, but I've never told anyone about the story, not even my grandfather. I've only heard the whistling a few more times since. I'm not really a believer in the paranormal, and I really tried to find an explanation for weird stuff and believe that this may just be some quiet squatter, but I really don't know. Come back again at this nocturnal hour to witness another horrifying story.